Welcome to the latest episode of Thinking Tackle. I'm Hamidi and you join me at the extremely prolific Thorpe fishery near Egham in Surrey. Now when the guys told me I'd be doing this shoot, they said I'd be joined by two tall blondes. There I was expecting two tall Swedish female models, no such luck. I'm joined by Jake and Dan Wildbore, two of the youngest and most talented carp anglers on the carp fishing scene. Over the next hour I'm going to delve into some of that carp hauling knowledge that these boys have. So without further ado, let's get the show on the road. Accuracy is a major part of big hit fishing, and what Jake's doing here is marking his lines up so they're pinpoint on the money every time. Jake, I notice you're doing it a little bit different to what we've seen on Thinking Tackle before. You've got two bank sticks 12 foot apart. Why are you doing it this way?
That's right. Well, basically most swims aren't always, you haven't got like the room and you're in a confined little space, so this enables you to do it with being next to your rods and making sure it's on the same spot every time.
Obviously, you've got the British Championships that you do, the finals and stuff, you're confined to your boundary, aren't you?
Yeah, you're not allowed out of that area.
Yep.
So this enables you to do all your rods.
And also, if you're on like a little intricate estate lake with little dotted islands and stuff, the last thing you want to do is start crashing the lead in, spooking all those lovely scaly carp that are swimming around in front of you. So this way, you've got the two bank sticks exactly a rod length apart, and you can mark them out. Now, let's talk about how you do it. What's the first thing you do? Once you get in your fishing situation, you're trying to build up for a big hit, what do you do?
Find the spot with a marker float.
Yep.
Once you're happy with that, clip it up, bring it back, and then wrap it round the first post.
Okay, so the float just goes around the post.
Yep.
That's, in effect, that's 0 yards, yeah?
Yep.
That's your starting point.
And then each one is obviously 1, 2, 3, and then keep going until you hit your mark.
Okay, so you'll finally hit the line clip on the reel.
Yep.
That tells you that you've reached the distance that you're out in the actual lake itself. All right, so that's your mark. So you'd go, for example, how far are you out today?
20 turns.
20 of these, yeah?
Yep.
20 rod lengths. So that's brilliant as well, because you can, when any lake you go to, you find any sexy little hot spots.
You just make a note of it, and then as soon as if you turn up into the swim again, there's fish out there, you know the spot that you're fishing to.
Yep.
You know, you're all clipped up
right.
and ready.
So marker rod's done.
Yep.
What's the next rod that you do?
I do the spod, exactly the same as the marker.
Okay, so the spod is going to land. So the float, if you think the lead is on the bottom, you want the spod doing the equivalent range on the surface.
That's right.
Okay,
yeah.
And then you come to your fishing rods. I suppose you've got to vary that based on the depth of water.
That's right. Yeah. So you say, is it a foot?
Yeah. Well, one of the rules I use is every 3 foot of water is a foot in extra in distance, just to take into account the swing back, you know. That's a good rule. How deep is it out there?
It's about 5.5 foot.
So you'd go a couple of feet further than your spod,
and then you've got the spring of it coming back.
All right. Now, what I love about this, Jake, as well, is that you've got your two fishing rods out there, but also if you have any crack-offs or anything like that, you can quickly sort it out.
That's right. If you're running up your rods up and down the bank, you see people do it all the time, and if they've got rods out and it's weedy or snaggy or whatever, then
yeah, the worst thing as well, you get your lakes with cars driving around.
Oh yeah.
I've seen a couple of breakages where people have had the sort of rods laid down and they've tried to walk it out. But the brilliant thing about this is you can do it in such a tight area. You can do it at any point, and if you're generous to your friends, you're able to tell them some hot spots that you found on various lakes. You can literally go to lakes anywhere in the world and tell a mate when he goes there that it's 22 rod lengths or.
And then aim for that tree, then they can get on the same spot every time.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, as you can see, pinpoint accuracy plays a major part in this man's success. Well, we've looked at accuracy, now it's time to talk about bait. So I suppose, boys, when you come to pressured lakes like this, bait is of paramount importance. How important is it for you?
Very important, because you think if you're on a busy lake, you want something that they want and want them to get moving on you, and then hopefully get a hit from it.
You're competing with so many other people, everyone's putting something out, so you want it to rise above the rest, don't you? Let's look at some of the ingredients, Dan. Tell me about some of the important things that you like to use.
The main thing, as in most mixes I suppose, is hemp.
Yeah.
And there's a few things you can do to hemp, like add chili, salt after you cook it, just to try and get extra bit of attraction, as opposed to your standard hemp that everyone else is using.
Yeah.
That's the main ingredient that goes in there.
Well, it's been a big part of Thinking Tackle, chili, hemp and the salt. I know Dan loves it. Does it make a difference?
From previous success for us, yeah.
Really?
So,
have you fished the two side by side to actually compare, or have you just noticed that just seems to be so much better?
Yeah, just results from
I
using
want
it.
horseshoe that I used to use normal hemp, add the chili, cook it in the chili, and the oil seems to like
Fuse together.
Yeah, it's more oil, and the results are a lot better with the chili as opposed to the standard hemp.
Yeah, the spice, it's just something a bit more added to it to lure those carp down.
Yeah.
So I presume that hemp would go into a mixing bucket. So yeah, how much would you put into like one mix?
It varies really, but just get
Couple of those big scoops, yeah. And do you do these mixes as you go? You don't do big piles of them?
Because if you say with the pellets, for
Yeah.
example, they take it in, it would just become a mush, which you don't want. So you just little and often all the time.
Well, what a great place to go to, the pellets. Now, every carp lake on the planet, carp eat these, don't they? You've got a right mixture in it. Talk me through some of the ones you've got in there, because there seems to be some crumb in there.
Yeah, it's the salmon microfeed.
Okay.
It's just
So it's like salmon fry crumb, that sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
they feed the baby salmon on them. So
Yeah.
just obviously nutritional, and they just lay down a nice carpet.
Yeah.
So it's when they're going around picking off the bits of food,
Yeah.
there's always like they're hiding a
There's
bit of gravel.
sediment
Yeah,
there, isn't there?
there's always food there for them to mill
that's,
about.
That's the interesting thing I can see from this. You've got loads of different pellets. They look like different colours, different shades, different sizes. Do they break down at different times?
Yeah, they all break down at different rates.
Yep. And do you find that certain pellets seem to be better at certain times of the year?
In the winter, lower your oils.
Yep.
So like really or high oiled like halibut pellets, things like that, don't tend to sort of
Yeah, it congeals, doesn't it?
Yeah, it congeals.
And the attraction's not getting out because
Yeah.
the water can't break it down. So the size and the different pellets are important for you, are they?
That's right, as well for sinking rates as well when it comes out the spod.
So you're basically you're sending that cloud of bait down.
And it will spread differently to the weight of it.
Yeah,
Obviously,
and so
boilies go straight down.
And do you find that carp can often get preoccupied on pellets? Is that a good thing in your type of fishing?
I don't know if they get preoccupied. It's just you want them milling around.
Yeah.
You want them actively moving all the time in between each little bit, each little mouthful.
And even where they might have cleared up all the hemp and the other bits, there's still always a smell there laid down.
Yeah.
With the hemp and the pellet as well, you're getting visual signs of the feeding.
Yeah.
You start slicking up, you know they're moving it about.
Yeah, really
If you're just
important.
fishing the boilie, you're not getting any response from it.
You don't get that activity.
Yeah, you might put more bait out and think, oh, I've put too much. Whereas the hemp, if they're slicking, stop slicking, and you have to bite, you know that you can put more out and you can see what's going on more.
That's wonderful information. So right, I've got a handful of pellets. You've got probably a couple of pints of hemp in there. How much of this pellet would you put in?
Just a few handfuls, just to.
Right, so I'd go in like that. Get another
Another
one.
of them.
And another. So you don't want to put loads in because, like you say, it'll all turn to mush and gloop. Yeah.
Exactly. Once you put it in, you can't take it out.
And does that help stodge up the spot as well to stop it flying
Yeah.
out the back?
Yeah, that's when you don't want spod spill, do you? You want everything on that one area where you're fishing.
All right, brilliant. So right, I've got the pellets in there. Now, kids, don't do this at home. Don't open a tin like this. Crazy stuff. Right, sweet corn, absolute
Well, it's
awesome
just
bait.
One of the best baits, isn't it? So
What-
it's worked for years. And
Why'd you have it in there, Dan? Why'd you have the yellow element in there?
Visual, and it gives you another hook bait option. So you can tip your pellet, your boil, whatever, with a bit of corn,
Yeah.
and you can get quicker bites. Don't add loads.
Yeah.
As long as they're passing over, they get this smell and they've got that sight. If there's 10 grains out there and you got one of them, as opposed to thousands of pellets, you can get a quick bite off that.
So a fleck of colour. So I suppose you're just gonna
sprinkle of
Just
it.
a
little
few
sprinkle
grains,
of them. Is that enough?
That's more than enough, yeah.
There we go. So just a little scatter in there. So if I pull a handful up, there's probably a couple of grains of corn in my palm. Right. Okay, you've got some other little morsels and bits and pieces. I can spy some very small boilies there.
Yeah. A few 10mm boilies.
Yep, so let's have them out. Now, the 10 millers. Paramount that you have them, because I know some people can struggle to get them at times in shops, you know,
That's
because
right.
you only get 14s or 18s and you don't You don't get them.
No, it's just the size of the hook baits we're fishing. We're only fishing small hook baits, so 15 mils would work just as well. As you just want them grubbing around.
So you got something there, haven't you? That's solid. And the thing is, when pellets break down, you've still got this sort of solid food there, right? So I'll put these in there now. Talking about the bigger boilies, a big plate of chops. Why'd you chop your baits up, Dan?
Because we're fishing small, tiny bits on the hook and the hair. Most people would use a 40mm boilie, cast it out there.
Yeah.
If you've got that out there and you're fishing, say that on the hook,
very natural.
It's completely different.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to go in there and think, whoa.
That's a hook bait.
Yeah.
We did some underwater filming many years back that never come to fruition. It never made it onto the screens. But one of the interesting things was one evening we put out a load of round boilies, and the next morning all the other food was gone, and there was exactly the same amount of round boilies that we put out the night before.
Really?
They hadn't touched them. So chopping these baits up, and I suppose by breaking them up, you're opening up the seal.
The smell, yeah, because they seal up, don't they, when you boil them, and you get more attraction there.
Brilliant. So loads of chops. That's an important element of every spod mix that you see out there. So in they go. All right, and you've got some salt down here and some liquids. Talk me through them.
This is basically liquidised chili. It's just purely chili blended up.
Right.
So you can eat it. I wouldn't advise it. It's a bit hot. But this is what.
Put it on your chips later on.
Yeah. But this is what I cut the hemp in.
Yeah.
But you can add a little bit more to your mix.
Okay. So it's not flammable, it won't explode in your face when you're cooking your hemp in the kitchen. You won't have a horrified missus or mother coming in. How much of this will you put in then?
Literally probably just a capsule full. No, not
all that is. Have a mouthful of that, Jake. Go on, have a swig, son. No, there you go.
My nose in there.
Right, so just a little scattering like that. Is that enough, do you think?
That's more than enough, yeah.
Yeah, more than enough. Now, the old faithful rock salt. Got to go in there, innit?
Yeah.
How much do you go for? Handful?
Yeah, about a handful will do, yeah.
Yep.
That's more, yeah.
And is that in every spod mix that you put out there, yeah?
Pretty much, and we put a lot on our boilies now, don't we?
All the chops, I chop them up before I go fishing, get them in a bag, a bit of liquid and salt, shake them about, and it just seems to absorb all the flavours of it. And you'll notice when you're spodding out, if you like get any cuts on your nails, you can sort of get the tingling from the salt, and it's
you can feel it. You can feel there's something in there attached to them boilies that's working for you.
Yeah. And there's loads of debates whether it works for them, but I think 100% it works for them. Especially this time of year, they're around spawn and they want them extra nutrition.
Yeah.
It just seems to help.
Right, brilliant information. Well, there you go. Loads of little tips and tricks in there, loads of different elements that really separates the bait of these boys from everyone else.